a conflict over in the Middle East, and done a tour over there. Did some other exercises around the world, trying to bring peace to certain regions, I guess you could say, building relationships. Once I got through MOS school, boot camp, all that, got back home, one of the things that I wanted to do was serve the community. So I started volunteering with Carroll County Fire Rescue in 2002, and I served for Carroll County Fire Rescue for about 19 years. I now serve with Fairfield Fire Rescue as a volunteer. Done that for about 4 years now. In the meantime, my job in the Marine Corps originally was aviation, refrigeration, electrician, mechanic. So I decided what I want to do with that is use that out in the civilian world, and I started my own HVAC business about 15 years ago. So a lot of public service, and out in the community a lot, day-to-day, running service calls, doing things for the citizens, both public service related and as my job. The reason that I want to run is because I want to bring public service back to politics. We have issues that I feel like are closed up. We don't open up the doors enough for the people to see. The other thing is, as a first responder, when we respond to a call, we go to that call with no bias whatsoever. Our intent is to get out there and solve the problem that citizen has. It doesn't matter where it's at, what neighborhood it's in, nothing. It's a problem. We got to solve it.
Political affiliation.
Yep. None of that. It doesn't matter, right? And so I feel like if that comes into play back into politics, and there's a district commissioner who has that kind of mindset to serve people, it doesn't matter about who they are, what they are, where they live. It's about solving the issues that bring happiness or make their life better in doing that. And so with that experience coupled with my Marine Corps experience, the Marine Corps has a motto: honor, courage, and commitment. So when you can serve the people with a mentality that the right thing to do when nobody's watching, you have the courage to face any adversity that may be thrown your way, and you have the commitment that essentially in the military, and I took that into the first responder aspect as far as firefighting. I wake up in the morning and I go to work as if lives depend on my actions. And so if I can put that into the public service, then whatever issues we have out there, I feel like that I will solve them with non-bias in mind. Because a lot of times it's about the issue, not about the person who's bringing the issue up to you. Mm. And I hope that answered all the who, what, wins, and why.
Keith Knowles, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, one of 7 candidates running for the District 5 seat, which the new term would begin in 2025, and the incumbent is not seeking re-election. So these are all seven relatively new names that are seeking this position. And it's the only county level race on the ballot. So again, encouraging everybody to go out and vote, because there are races that Carroll County does have a control and input in, but this District 5 one is the only one on the county level. So encouraging District 5 to go out there and definitely vote in this. And each gentleman in this race is a Republican, so this race will only be on the Republican ballots in that District 5. Now, you talk about returning public service to that. Would you have sought this seat had the incumbent decided not to run? Would you have challenged the incumbent in this election?
The incumbent and I have had many of dealings over the last 3 or 4 years as far as some of my situation. And I'm free to talk offline with anybody about that. And so there would have been a serious talk had he decided not to run. I'll put it that way. I would have not just went and challenged him without sitting down and having a conversation and saying, hey, here's some things, and if he could have reassured me for that, then yes.
Well, what are those things? What are some examples of those things?
Well, one of the things is how we spend our money, right? I'm a debt-free kind of person. I'm not going to take the taxpayers' money and if we have a specific situation. I'm not going to take the taxpayers' money and just throw it out there without follow-up, without oversight, without an expectation that whatever department or reason that we spent that money for a specific issue, I need the feedback. Is it working? Is it not working? A prime example, several years ago in the fire department, training was a big issue. We need more training. We need more training. We need more training. The Board of Commissioners put up about $20,000 for training, extra to the fire department's budget. We went out, we conducted a training exercise. That was it. There was nothing that come back out of that to say, here's what we can do in the future. Board of Commissioners, if you continue to give us more money, we're going to use it in this way. These are the things that the guys benefited from. These are the things that the personnel did not benefit from. Here's the changes we're going to make, and if you give us more money, we can solve the issue by working through this. But if I just give you $20,000 and you go have one training evolution and there's no outcome to that, that is not conducive of solving a problem. It simply was an excuse to say we did something about it. So you did something about it, but with what results come from that? That's what I mean by the follow through. If we're going to follow through, or if we're going to spend money, I want to know that money is actually being useful and it's solving problems. I don't agree with throwing money against the wall just to see if it's going to stick and then solve a problem on top of that. I'm a debt-free kind of person. If I spend my money, I want to know that I get the most value out of my money. The hardest thing about this campaign is I'm spending my money and there's no guarantee on anything other than the people getting out and voting for me. And so that's hard for me to do as a debt-free kind of person and somebody who wants to spend money wisely and make sure that it's effective when I spend it and I get the most value out of my dollar. Doing a campaign, there's no guarantee in that.
Keith Knowles, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Before we do take our first break, are you doing, door to door? How are you campaigning? You have radio ads for those, but are you doing door to door campaigning? Are you reaching out a telephone? A
little bit of everything. I'm going to take the most use of my money and my time, and so I'm doing a little bit of everything to see get a little bit of piece of every pie so that I can get that the most effective way of doing it. I don't know if one or the other is more effective, so I'm going to do them all.
Well, when you approach them and you tell them, what your concerns are, what are they telling you? Are they agreeing with you, or maybe they're not as aware of what you're talking about? But what are they telling you are their concerns? The
concerns in District 5 is obviously the growth. I agree with that. That growth has to be managed. I'm not for taking a farm and letting subdivisions go in there, and I understand that issue. I live on the north end of District 5. As soon as I pull out on 61, I feel that growth every single day. So first-handedly, I understand the ones who haven't been impacted by that growth way deep down in the District 5. I understand what you're trying to prevent. The other thing is the spending. The spending is a big thing. Even all the candidates that are in here that I've talked to, just the candidates, I think a lot of them say, I'm tired of the way money's being spent within Carroll County. As a District 5, as a district commissioner, you are in charge of that budget. That is one thing you can actually influence in that position. A lot of people think that you can, do things with employees, or you can do this. Is budget and policy really is the powers of that district commissioner outside of influence. And that's what I mean by the honor, courage, and commitment with that style of actually taking that approach. I like my actions to speak for my words, and if people can see what I'm doing and understand that's the kind of commitment that I have, then hopefully they can say, well, this guy has a lot of experience, whether it's department heads, employees, other district commissioners. They go, you bring a lot of lot of experience to the table, and you've been around the world. You've seen other nations at work. You've worked with other nations. You've been out in the field. You've been the boots on the ground for first responders. How can we do this to help those areas and spend that money wisely?
I'll come back and continue to elaborate on that. You do talk about commitment. Again, we'll take a break here in a second. You talked about commitment, being committed to the position, but how much time can you commit? A small business owner, so that's going to take up a little bit of time. How much time do you think is legitimate for a commissioner to make himself available to the public to follow up on things that they're seeking?
If anybody read the Star News articles, I had a column in there, and one of the things I mentioned is 7 Ps. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So proper planning and knowing what's coming up, the best method of fire fighting is fire prevention. So if we can enact things, take example of sprinkler system. That sprinkler system only mitigates what kind of fire happens in there. So if we can do the proper planning prior to fires happening, at that point we have a better chance of mitigating the fire when it does happen. So when you talk about time, it's all about scheduling. I'm sitting here today. That's why I'm not dressed up in a different uniform, because when I leave here, I'm going to go apply my time there. I've done it for 20 years or 22 years or so in the fire service. I volunteer, so at any given moment the tone drops, I go get that. I go respond to that call. But it's all about managing your time.
Time is 8:42. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy. My guest this morning, Keith Knowles, one of 7 candidates for that District 5 seat on the Carroll County Board of Commissioners. If you have any questions or comments, I encourage you to post those to the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and I'll look at those and share them with our guest. We'll be back with more right after this.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
The Entrepreneur Scholar Journey at Oak Mountain Academy is designed to provide students with a clearly defined curriculum-based track to acquire essential knowledge and skills for success in business and leadership. Critical areas include identifying entrepreneurial characteristics, selecting a value position, and business model development. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us on the mountain. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
843, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3 on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page this morning. My name is Colin Worthington. Our guest is Keith Knowles, one of seven candidates who will be on the ballot in District 5 for Carroll County Board of Commissioners. Early voting starts a week from this Monday, right?
Yes, sir.
And the May 21st is Election Day. So go to the myvoterpage.com or type in my voter page GA in Google, and it'll take you there to find out all the information. Make sure you're registered, and it'll tell you the days and places you can vote early, or to remind you where to go on your precinct. Again, my guest this morning is Keith Knowles. You did talk about the growth and how you would like to see it remain agriculture as long as it can. So the sprawl and everything. So that brings me to, if we talk about somebody has that property, has that farm property, and dad's 80 years old and he's done. The kids don't want to be farmers. They're gonna, they want to sell that property. They want to get some money off of that. So they, people come in and want to buy that property. Maybe want to build a subdivision. Maybe they want to even talk about putting something commercial or recreational there, and they present that to you as a commissioner. How do you weigh that, whether or not you will support that rezoning that would allow them to do what they want to with their property?
A lot of the zoning issues, as far as that development, relates back to what the zoning the county's put in place as far as is allowing that to happen. Excuse me. Allowing that to happen. It's a case-by-case basis, because you may have a street that has the people that live on that street may be in favor for it, but if it's 10 miles away in District 5 and they're just saying no to it, you got to take that on a case-by-case basis. In order for the county to not overtax its people, it has to have some kind of industry within the county, or otherwise you can never tax the citizens enough to pay for the necessities that they need from the county. So it would have to be a case-by-case basis, and I am an open book. I believe in opening up government. When we make mistakes, let's just own up to our mistakes and let's not try to hide them. So in the same essence, I'm an open book to sit down and have a topic and a conversation with the people that will be impacted by that. And that's the only way you're going to be able to manage that, because I don't think when you talk about growth that you can simply say, well, I'm 100% going to say no, because you got other district commissioners that get a vote on that too. Even though it's not in their district, they get a vote on it. So you really have to present your case. You have to work together as a team, and you really have to find out what the people that are going to be most impacted by that have to say about it.
Have you had a chance up to now to sort through any of the budgets, like the current budget or proposed budget for the future? Have you?
I have not. I have looked done open records requests on certain things that were bought from the county and looked at certain aspects of the budget. As a taxpayer, it's not something I'm just going to spend my time on, because I manage my time wisely, because I'm a busy person. I have no reason to sit down and just go, let me see your budget and let me look through it. However, I do my own budget at home. I do my own budget with my business. I've managed spending with the Marine Corps, with the fire service, help with those aspects. I understand what it takes to balance that budget. I understand what it takes to buy the things that you need, not the things you want. One of the things that I can say I disagree with all government budgets is the fact you get down to the end of that budget year and everybody says, let's spend the rest of our money, because if we don't spend it, we don't get it again next year. I don't believe in that mentality. I believe in let's reward people who can perform the tasks necessary under their budget. And then from that, we gotta figure out what we're going to do from that. So we reward the people who spend under their budget, and then we turn around and take that excess and decide, how do we do that? Do we reward the person or department head who actually underspend under their budget and say, you know what, you underspent, and here's some excess we have, so let's look at some of the things you need, versus just let's just go buy whatever we can to get our budget to a $0. That is not conducive with a debt-free mentality. It doesn't work in a business, because I can't just say, hey, we're at the end of the year, guys, let's go buy a whole bunch of stuff. I never have agreed with that mentality the entire time I've worked in government. We're at the end of the budget year. Spend all your money, or otherwise we don't get it again. We need to reward people who can do it. It's like building a house. You don't go out and say, hey, the bank loaned me this much money, let me go spend every single bit of it. You're like, no, where can I cut the corners so at the end of the day I come in under budget? Government's one of the few people who don't do that, you know?
And that is learned. I mean, you're learning it from the department head who was before you, 10 years before you. But you do see that happen, that if you don't spend that, the money's taken away. But how do you respond to somebody who comes back the next year and say, look, well, you did cut my budget because I did so good last year, but look, now I've had this big thing happen and I need
that's where, when you say we're in surplus, that's where you pull from and you put into your surplus. If you have a changing dynamic within a certain department because of whatever issues they are, you say you're 100% right, so we're gonna supplement your budget with a surplus. Can we use SPLOST dollars for that? And we'll surplus that budget, but when we set the budget for the next year, we say this is a necessity that needs to be added into there. And if that department head comes back the next year and says, hey, I got what I needed, but now that we've got this new computer system, we got these new tractors, we figured it out, and I've been able to cut this budget, I've been able to cut my budget, well, now what we took out of surplus, we can put that back into surplus. And we use that surplus to fill the gaps, and/or when somebody's coming in, we take it. We don't wait until we have an economic boom, inflation's high, property values are high, and say now's the time to go stack put our surplus back. We can do that on a case-by-case basis every single year versus saying, we're at the end of the year, let's just spend all of our money. No, let's take in and out of our surplus for the shortfalls, and then let's put back in for the department heads who actually do come in under budget. Let's take that and stick it back over here in a surplus, and or reallocate it to somebody else. If the fire department is coming in under budget, but roads department needs a tractor fixed, or they need a new tractor, let's reallocate that, and now as a whole we can reduce the spending within the entire budget. We can take the different departments and actually move from one department and reallocate some of those funds to somebody else who actually just didn't foresee something that they needed to spend money on.
And the Carroll County Schools District right now, they're working on their budget, which they'll present at the end of next month. But one of the things they put inside their budget is they do expect the tax digest to increase again this year. So if that's true for Carroll County government, you wouldn't get to vote on it this year if you're elected. But, I mean, how would you consider what you're going to do with the millage rate? Because, I mean, as we've said on this program so many times, I mean, if you lower the millage rate, it doesn't necessarily mean a tax decrease to property owners, but it at least looks like you made the effort. Maintaining it will result in a tax increase for just about everybody. How will you weigh on what to do with the millage rate to maybe even out that tax collection, or do you look at everything that you have and say, all right, this is an opportunity, the economy may peter out here in 2 or 3 years, so we need to do some things now?
The first thing we got to look at when it comes to the millage rate and all that is, are we assessing the property values appropriately? And if we're not, and we're over-assessing those property values, we got to fix that first.
I think on local level, I think they've actually done that last several years where they've gone back and checked. I mean, they've got to meet like a state. I mean, there's so much red tape and stuff that they have to meet and be within a certain percentage of things. So, but yeah, I mean, just to say though, I'm pretty sure over the last 2 years they've done that.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And again, that continual follow-up, and I may be mistaken when I say this, but I think several years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, there was a big thing where that assessment had to be completely redone.
Well, it hadn't been done in a decade.
Exactly. So we got to continue with the follow-up, right? We're taking money from the taxpayer. We always have to continuously be following up on zoning issues. Are we appraising and assessing property values right? Before we consider and look at, say, is it just a millage rate problem or not? However, if we are in surplus and we have a year's worth of surplus, or we're maxed out on surplus, and we can afford to lower the millage rate, we need to lower the millage rate. However, as a politician, none of them ever want to say, I want to increase the millage rate. I'm different. I have the courage, honor, courage, and commitment. If I can take the opportunity to lower your millage rate in good economic times, I also have the courage to sit down to you and explain to you that I will raise the millage rate in non-economic times in order to provide the services necessary for the citizens. It's a budget. Sometimes we got to spend more, sometimes we got to save more. It's always going to be an ever-changing animal that's out there, but we need somebody who can sit down and actually influence or portray to the taxpayers why we're actually doing something. It goes back to the open government. We got to tell people why we're doing things. If you just do it and you don't let them see why, then they're always going to have their complaints and just think it was something totally different. That's what I'm about. Let's open this thing up. Let's have the conversations. Let's breed teamwork, and we can go a long ways with that mentality.
Time right now is 8:56. We'll take a final break and come back with about 2 minutes. I'll pretty much just throw the softball up to you for the last 2 minutes. You can do the front door speech and just get any points across that you want to as we wrap up the program. Keith Knowles, my guest on this morning's Community Voice, one of 7 candidates for the District 5 seat on the Carroll County Board of Commissioners. Program brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy is an innovative school of academic excellence celebrating over 61 years. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to join us on the mountain to see our mission and vision in action. Academic excellence, a faith-based environment, and dynamic opportunities are just a few of the reasons our families choose Oak Mountain Academy. Academic scholarships and tuition assistance are available. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
857, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Got about 2.5 minutes left in my program with Keith Knowles, again, one of 7 candidates running for the District 5 seat on the Carroll County Board of Commissioners. We've had one other candidate on the program about 2 weeks ago, so I encourage you to go back and check that out, and hopefully we'll have the other 5 candidates. I'm sure they're scheduled for the Community Voice within the next several weeks, so check in. If you don't catch it live, it'll be available on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page, as well as newstalk1330.com in our podcast section. But as we do wrap up our show with Keith Knowles, hey, I'm a resident in District 5. I see you coming up on my porch. I got my coffee in my hand. I got my baby in my left hand, and I'm leaving. I got places to go. So, but you're like, hey, man, I just want to get you for 2 minutes. What are you telling me?
Well, I don't want to give away my trade secrets, right? But one thing I will say is all the candidates in this race, predominantly we all see the same way as far as the ag, preservation, spending, so on and so on. So I think the one thing that can set me different is, as I mentioned early in the show, I've done public service and served people for over half of my life. I'm a firm believer in taking what I've been given and give more back. My wife and my daughter have supported me for the last 20 years or so doing this. And so it's one of those things where it takes a toll on them, but they allow me to do it, and I'm thankful for them to allow me to do that, because I understand that I'm a little different than most, and that is one of the things that I can really say and thank my wife with this little bit of time you give me versus giving away trade secrets.
So, and I'm sure she appreciates it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith. It was good to meet you, and appreciate you being on the program. Another one that we can check off in the books here, but we have plenty of more candidate interviews coming up in the next several weeks. So again, do check out our Facebook page and website as we do these interviews. But again, good luck and congratulations so far for what you're doing, and thank you for coming out this morning. And thank you for listening and watching on this morning's Community Voice program. Tomorrow we have, there's only 2 candidates for the Haralson County Sheriff's race, and we have one of those candidates on the program tomorrow, and he's not the sheriff. So tune in for that beginning at 8:30 here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Have a great Thursday.